Here is the truth about the New York Jets after falling to the Miami Dolphins. 0-4, the Jets' record is heading into this week against Dallas. There's a lot that we need to break down in this, and, there's a lot of injury stuff, but I just want to dive deep into the narrative among Jets fans and provide you guys my thoughts about everything that's circulating around these New York Jets. I will be on the road this week in LA for the NFC West Roundtable event, by the way. In case you guys were wondering why there's not as much content this week, that's the reason for it. I'm excited. I'll be there in SoFi Stadium for Thursday Night Football. But all that aside, getting into these New York Jets, man, listen, I don't like going on these rants, and this is not a rant video by any stretch of the imagination. That's just saved for post games. But I feel like there needs to be some context. It needs to be some type of talking points around last night's game. The stream I did the morning after the game, I thought was very therapeutic. We had a long call-in show. Jets fans coming in, letting everything out. And there's a lot of issues with this football team. And I'm going to say some things that's probably going to piss some people off, and that's okay. We're not all supposed to agree with everything, but I feel like there's something with this team that I'm noticing based off their first 4 games that people are just not going to give them any credit for because the Jets haven't won a football game and there are no moral victories in this league. But I look at this game against the Dolphins. I look at the game week 1 against the Steelers. I look at the game even against the Buccaneers. Like, there really is some things to be encouraged about because I feel like the Jets, man, and this is what makes it so frustrating, if they can just clean up the boneheaded nonsense that every football team around the NFL just knows not to do, then we have a legit situation here to be a solid football team. Now, I say all those things just to say that our 0-4 record is abysmal. We're waiting for the first win of the season. The defense has been a laughingstock. But on offense, man, this team is running the football. They had over 200 rushing yards, over 200 plus passing yards. Fields at over 70% completion percentage. Like, the data offensively tells you that there's productivity. But the issue is turnovers and, of course, penalties. And those things are always going to make you lose football games. If you turn the ball over 3 times and you're undisciplined, you're going to lose. Is that something this Jets football team can clean up? And I feel like Aaron Glenn, he needs to figure out some type of approach here because this is going to define Aaron Glenn as a head coach because now people have the pitchforks out. They want Aaron Glenn gone. They want him fired after 4 games. People are assuming he's going to get fired after year 1. I'm sorry, but he's not going anywhere after year 1. I don't care how many wins the Jets get. It's just the reality of it. He's going to be, at least this is a 2 to 3 year window that Aaron Glenn gets to change this team and get his guys in. If you think anything otherwise, then you're just, mad and you want change. But the reality is, if you expected Aaron Glenn to come in here and just be a whirlwind and the Jets are competitive right away, you set yourself up for failure. I am on record all offseason long saying that this season is going to get ugly before it gets pretty. Now, we'll see if it gets pretty, meaning the Jets winning some football games down the stretch here, and I'm talking like later on in the season. But I feel like this 4-game losing streak the Jets are on right now to start off the season, what I'm noticing with Aaron Glenn is he's approaching losing in a very interesting way. The way he's handling himself in the media, right? Last week was a big conversation, him dancing on the sideline, him clapping after a loss. Like, these things some people are criticizing, but I personally think that Aaron Glenn, number 1, loves this football team because he was drafted here. He wants this job so much, and he wants to be the reason why the Jets figure it out. He knew when he took this job that this was coming. He understood that he's inheriting a mess, and he needs to figure out a way to clean up the mess. And it's going to get messy, and now he has to handle the tough questions in the media. He's got to handle all these things. And honestly, I feel like he's done a pretty good job so far. And listen, nobody's going to look at Aaron Glenn seriously until you win. Winning cures all. If the Jets go out there and win 4 games in a row, I'm not predicting that at all, then people will say, okay, we know what we're doing here. Let's go. Now we actually have a coaching staff. Now we know what we're doing. But this roster, you can tell it was inherited, and I do feel like this regime deserves an opportunity to get more, assets in the trade market, and that's something I wanted to talk to you guys about. Let me know in the comments right now, do you think the Jets are going to be sellers at the trade deadline? Because the way that they're trending here, Breece Hall is a name that's been talked about throughout this entire offseason, even entering this season, to be getting traded away. Now, with Braylon Allen injured, Breece Hall is going to take on a larger role. Is there a world where the Jets decide to trade away Breece Hall at the deadline because they don't see him having a long-term future, get some type of assets? Because that's a real conversation that we need to have. I like Breece Hall, but he still is not living up to the potential. The offensive line is blocking. right? And I think the coaching staff is also not giving Breece Hall the ball enough. Like, I don't get why they're not feeding Breece a little bit more, giving him volume, because that's the type of running back he is. He needs to get into a flow-like state. We shall see how that goes. But I really do feel like this organization right now is in turmoil. The fan base is in turmoil. Everybody is pointing fingers. And the narrative now is we're pointing fingers at Steve Wilks, the Jets defensive coordinator. And I hear that. That is justified. The defense is absolutely bad. I mean, one of, if not the worst defenses in the NFL, and we're going to point the finger at Steve Wilks. People want him to get removed from play calling duties and give it to Aaron Glenn. I don't think that's going to happen unless this continues throughout the rest of the season, of course, back by the end. I can see Steve Wilks getting fired in the offseason if this defense looks that bad all season long, no doubt about it. But when it comes to the Jets, coaching staff from the head coach perspective, man, you got to give him some time to just figure out what it means to be a head coach in this league. And talking about the defense, man, everybody's blaming the coaching staff, but I'm also going to start blaming the players, because at some point, man, you got to look at these players and hold them accountable. Like, when you call a play as a defensive coordinator, it's up to the players to go execute. And Steve Wilks deserves his criticism, but I want to be fair to the players and to the coaching staff, because Sauce Gardner, as much as I love him, every Jets fan loved him. We wanted to pay him. He's paid. He's not playing like a $30 million cornerback. He's just not. He's playing like a solid corner, not one of the best in the league. He got paid as one of the best. He's not performing like one of the best. And it feels like this defense is very undisciplined, and they get sucked into every single play action fake. They're not adjusting. And I think that, yes, that goes to the coaching staff. But when it comes to the individual players as a collective, they need to start playing better football. Where is the energy? Where is the effort, right? I'm not seeing a lot of effort. I'm not seeing a lot of fire. Like, the Jets' defensive line, no sacks. They barely even touched Tua. Like, as much as we want to blame Steve Wilks, but, like, Quinnen Williams is the only guy in defense that's been consistent this year. I know some people want to hate on Quinnen. He was graded out as the best Jets player, over a 90 grade on PFF. Every week he's been showing up to the plate. Just because he's not sacking the quarterback does not mean he's doing his job. Quinnen is the only guy that's stepping up. And I don't want to put it all on his shoulders, but Quinnen's got to be the man to step up in the locker room or something to wake this defense up, because it is an absolute joke right now to see what's going on. And, this whole season is so frustrating because there are things to be encouraged about with what we've seen. But the reality is, this is the NFL. No one cares about encouraging signs unless it translates to victories. And I'll tell you right now, if the Jets did not turn the ball over and get penalized the way that they did against the Dolphins, they would have won that football game. The Dolphins were not good, right? If the Jets were able to get that stop against the Buccaneers on the last drive, we would have won that football game. If Xavier Gibson did not fumble in that crazy kickoff return in week 1 against the Steelers, we would have won that football game. Those are a lot of ifs. No one cares about ifs. That's the reality. You got to face the truth. And that's what this video is all about, the truth of the New York Jets. And I feel like, if we're getting blown out every single week and we just look like we don't belong, that's one thing. But I'm not getting that. There's some guys making mental errors. Isaiah Williams, right? Fair catch at the 2-yard line, fumbling. Braylon Allen fumbling. Justin Fields fumbling on 4th down. Like, there's so little things. Like, if you can clean up the turnovers and clean up the discipline on offense and defense, things can turn around. And I also will say this, the defense, they actually adjusted. In the 4th quarter, you saw the defensive scheme change from, just showing what they're doing pre-snap to switching it up. They showed man, bailed into zone. They got 3rd down stops on back-to-back possessions. The defense started to play better. And I think that's another problem that we needed to talk about here in this video, is that the Jets feel like every game happened against the Bucs and it happened against the Dolphins, where they get better as the game progresses. They start off slow, and then they start playing really good football at the end of the 3rd quarter into the 4th quarter. You feel a comeback, you feel momentum, and then they run out of time and they can't win. And some people say, well, that's the defense of the other team just giving up and playing more conservative. Like, no, I think it's also the Jets having a sense of urgency and playing with up-tempo offense. They cannot wait to be down to start playing that style of football. That needs to be right out of the jump, a sense of urgency. And they started off strong offensively. That opening drive was beautiful, just to end in a fumble. And this Jets team has proven they are not capable enough to withstand those brutal mistakes. That's the big thing. This is a young football team trying to learn to win. And I hear you guys. I hear everybody upset with the Jets fans. I hear people upset with Aaron Glenn. Totally justified. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, man. It's beyond frustrating. Big shout out to Sleeper, as always, for sponsoring Jets Media all season long. Don't forget to check them out, folks, if you have not already. JETS is the code. You get a $100 deposit match up to $100. Of course, terms and conditions always apply there. Legal in 25 states. Huge salute to Sleeper. Comment down below a Jet emoji if you stayed until the end of the video, and let me know your overall thoughts, what you agree with, what you disagree with. I just wanted to make this video and just go out and speak. I had nothing planned in terms of topics. I'm just speaking freely out of my mind about the current state of these New York Jets and the truth of the New York Jets from my perspective. Love you guys as always, and let's go Jets. Peace out, guys.